Howdy, my name is Eyrich. This is going to be a series of slides about tree houses that we've built around the country over the last 10 years. And this is one that's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, in a place called Naog Park. And it's in a great setting. It sits, this kind of tells it, about a 100-foot cliff behind it. And it's in a public park. You'll see the next slide is a long wheelchair ramp that leads up to it. So one of the things about most of these tree houses is that they're all universally accessible. And that's accessible to folks that, well, to anyone. And it's great to watch people come through the park, grandmothers and kids and everybody along the way. One thing that's great about the tree houses that I want to make sure to mention, and I'll forget if I don't say it now, is that we've had the opportunity to bring a lot of Yestermorrow folks into building it. That's the ramp system leading up to it. It's not entirely supported off of trees. You can see the tree in the corner. There's some supports going down, but in addition, we designed these big steel trees to kind of help out where there wasn't the natural landscape to support the structure. A lot of Yestermorrow folks, I think we've employed about 15 Yestermorrow interns, and that's up on the deck of the treehouse itself, overlooking that cliff. And 15 Yestermorrow interns, 10 different instructors, and several students as well have been involved with these projects through the last several years. This is one in Ohio. At a place called the Laurel School, which is a girls' school there, and they wanted a castle escape, and that's what they got. It's a great, I'm sorry?
Is that a drawbridge?
It's not a drawbridge. It's a great idea. We haven't gotten that. This is the ramp that's leading back down to the ground.
Wow, the ramps are almost more expensive than the treehouses.
The ramps are way more substantial than the treehouse. They become the best part of the experience for folks easily. They're great design build projects. We spent a lot of time. They're all engineered and highly designed. This is the, we did a mural on the side of it for the glass kind of little landscape. So there's a lot of design that goes in up front, but then a lot of it gets figured out on the ground, which is a lot of fun. And especially with the interns on the ground. Lauren Faulkner Duncan, who was an intern here, did that mural there. This is a place called Longwood Gardens in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. And they did a treehouse exhibit last year. They had 3 different designers and makers come in and build tree houses, and this was the one that we put in there. We prefabricate a lot of this. The Scranton tree house and this one and the next one that comes up, we built here in Vermont in a warehouse and took it back apart again and then trucked it down and installed it on site. So that keeps our labor here. And we know the woods and the suppliers and everything else. So we do everything to harvest the trees through the final installation. Some of the joinery detail, some of the log structure in that long tree house. Why did that work? Perfect work.
Eric, the peepers want to know what kind of lumber that is.
That's cedar, local cedar from here. This is the most recent large-scale project. This is the Morris Arboretum, which is in Philadelphia. This was designed by a Philadelphia architect and then with some design consultation from our end. And it's a huge project, and we just did the custom woodwork on this one. So this is the pavilion. And then we wove a bird's nest inside of it, and then the hanging bird's nest there.
Fabulous.
It was over 2 miles of cedar branches. When I said, yeah, we can do that. No. And then they had to peel all the cedar branches and everything else. It was a ridiculous amount of work, but it came out. Yeah. And this was the entrance to that. They're white oak hoops, laminated white oak hoops. So they're eventually going to trellis that up and grow plants over the whole thing.
Nice.
Once again, this was built here in Vermont, and then all these parks were built here, and then we took them down and installed them on site.
I like them the way they are. I like them too, really cool. Yeah.
And this is a project that Ben Cheney, who's in the room here, led out in Tucson, Arizona at the Sonoran Desert Museum. And this was a great project involving education as well. There was 20 students funded through a federal grant to learn designing and building. And they taught that. There's a bunch of, because of its location, there's a lot of steel work. You see there's some decorative steel work down in there. And is this mesquite trees, Ben?
Yep.
Looking up through one of the structures, and they used these sail cloths to kind of provide some shade.
The problem's not rain.
The problem is sun, yeah. And then there's a close-up of some of the welding that the students have taught.
Ooh.
And decorative, and it actually matches the landscape that's there pretty well. This is the latest project, is right here in Facein, Vermont. This was started in the Treehouse design build class here at Yestermorrow. So in the class we teach about designing, building tree houses, and then the building we did in this aspect, we got the deck done, and then we went back and finished it out professionally this spring. So we built the roof system and the railing system. And the whole thing is kind of shaped and like a beach leaf, because it's kind of looking straight down off the back of the stairway. So rather than a door that's vertical, you walk through a horizontal door up a log stairway with some steps built into it.
Is that at somebody's house or?
This is at somebody's house, yeah. This is the only one in the slideshow that's not accessible, universally accessible. And that was the deck before anything went up. You see the beach leaf kind of shape in the spine in the middle.
Are those beech trees going through it?
They're not, they're maples, but the understory is about 90% beech. So it's all the leaves that are around and all the trees that are at that height are all beech trees. And then this last one is a little bit older, it's about 8 years old. This is in Texas, north of Austin at a camp. And that's one live oak tree. And I think it came through the floor in 5 places and out the walls and roof in 16 places. So it was a ton of fun.